Hello, and welcome to another episode of English Talk Time, the podcast that brings English to life through real conversations. I'm Ayla, your host, and today I'm joined by a special guest all the way from Germany. He just returned from a fantastic holiday in Turkey, and he's here to tell us all about it, using the past simple tense. Please welcome John.
Hi Ayla, I'm really happy to be here. I just got back from Turkey a few days ago, and I still feel like I'm dreaming. The trip was honestly one of the best experiences I've had in a long time.
That's great to hear. So let's start at the beginning. When did you come, and where did you go?
I came to Turkey in late April and stayed for a little more than 2 weeks. I flew into Istanbul, then visited Bursa, and after that, I travelled down to Ephesus, near Izmir. I planned this trip for a while because I've always wanted to explore Turkey. The culture, the people, the food, and of course, the football. I'm a big football fan.
Let's start with Istanbul. It's a big, busy city. What did you think of it?
Istanbul was incredible. I stayed there for about 5 days, and every day felt full of life. I visited the famous places like Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, and the Grand Bazaar. I also took a ferry ride on the Bosphorus. That was one of my favourite parts. The city looked magical from the water. But it wasn't just the sights. The people in Istanbul were so friendly. I remember one afternoon when I got lost near Sultanahmet, and a shop owner walked with me for 10 minutes to show me the tram station. We ended up chatting about football. He was a big Fenerbahce fan, and I told him I support Bayern Munich. We laughed a lot about that.
That's such a nice story. And what about the food in Istanbul?
Oh wow, the food. I ate simit for breakfast almost every day. It's simple but so tasty with cheese and tea. One night I sat at a small table on the street and ordered kofta and meze. I didn't even know all the names of the dishes, but I just pointed and said, "I'll try that." Everything tasted fresh and full of flavour. And I must talk about baklava. I tried it in a small cafe in Karaköy and almost cried. It was so sweet and perfect. I even bought some to take home for my family.
After Istanbul, you went to Bursa, right? How was it different?
Yes, Bursa was like a breath of fresh air. I stayed there for 4 days. The pace of life was slower and everything felt calmer. The streets were cleaner, the air smelled like trees, and the city felt more traditional. I visited the Green Mosque and the Grand Mosque. I love the Ottoman architecture. So much history in one place. One of my favourite moments in Bursa was when I took the cable car to Uludağ Mountain. I met a local family during the ride, and we talked all the way up. They shared their snacks with me, roasted chickpeas and some fruit. We took photos together, and they invited me for tea later. That's something I'll never forget.
Wow, they sound so warm and generous. Did you try a Turkish bath?
Yes, I did. It was my first time. I went to a hammam that was more than 500 years old. The whole experience was unusual at first. But after the scrubbing and steam, I felt so relaxed. My skin was soft, and I slept like a baby that night. Also, in Bursa, I watched a local football match. It wasn't a big game, just a small league. But the fans were so passionate. I wore green to support Bursaspor, and people cheered with me like I was one of them. It felt like home even though I was far away.
You really lived every moment. What about Ephesus?
Ephesus was like a step back in time. I stayed in Selçuk and spent an entire day exploring the ruins. I saw the Library of Gelsus, which was even more beautiful than in the photos. The Great Theatre was huge. I stood in the middle and imagined people cheering 2,000 years ago. I walked on the old marble roads and saw terrace houses, temples and statues. I even sat under a tree and just listened to the wind. There were a lot of tourists, but it still felt peaceful.
That sounds magical. What stood out the most for you during your trip?
Definitely the people. Everyone I met was helpful, kind, and curious. I had so many small conversations in shops, on buses, and even at football games. Some people didn't speak English very well, but they always tried. And when I spoke a little Turkish, like merhaba, nasılsınız, or çay lütfen, their faces lit up. I really felt welcome in Turkey. I also learned how powerful football is. I wore my Germany national team jersey one day in Istanbul, and 3 different people came to say hi. One guy shouted, "Miroslav Klas," and gave me a high five.
Haha, that's so funny and sweet. I love how football can bring people together. Thank you so much, John. You used the past simple perfectly, and your trip was full of great memories. Our listeners will learn a lot from this.
Thank you, Ayla. I enjoyed sharing my story. I hope more people visit Turkey. It's truly a beautiful country.
That's it for today on English Talk Time. We hope you enjoyed John's travel story. Don't forget, you can practice English by telling your own story using the past simple. Talk about what you did, where you went, what you ate, and who you met. Subscribe to my channel and spread the message to all new learners. See you next time.